Hello and welcome back to The Lion's Den. I'm your host Matt as always, and I would like to put forward my case today for rhythm games. I'm going to walk you through my proposal as to why I think you should personally invest some time and potentially some money into rhythm games, as well as the potential benefits and possibly some of the drawbacks. Anyway, I just thought I'd do that in a really silly, presenting voice. I don't know why I thought that would be funny. My brain just went to, being a lawyer and trying to present a court case. Anyway, I am genuinely serious. Today I want to talk about rhythm games and kind of my relationship with them, as well as why I think they are literally for everyone, regardless of what sort of musical ability you have. Because I imagine a lot of people think, oh, I can't play rhythm games. I have absolutely no rhythm. I'm terrible at it. But I'm here to tell you that rhythm games will teach you how to have better rhythm whilst also making it fun. So let's go. So let's start off with the fact that there are kind of two types of rhythm games in a very broad sense. There are simple but complicated rhythm games in terms of the actual rhythms that they present to you. And then there are the hardcore, buckle down, get serious rhythm games where you have to be very technical with what you do. So, in my universe of the rhythm games that I've played, you've got your rhythm heavens, which literally sometimes boil down to pressing a single button, and then you've got things like spin rhythm, which requires both clicking with the mouse and moving the mouse, as well as clicking and dragging, as well as pressing the space bar and doing a bunch of other stuff. It's much more technical in terms of what you do with your hands. Some games even use your feet, like Dance Dance Revolution, or have a specific drumming controller like Taiko no Tatsujin, if I said that correctly. That's the first thing that I want to say is if you're coming into rhythm games brand new and fresh, go for the simpler ones, the ones that require single button presses. Rhythm Heaven is a fantastic introduction to rhythm games because it adds both complex difficulty progression in a nice manner whilst also being stupidly simple to control. So it's literally just about hitting the rhythm correctly, and that's the biggest hurdle for a lot of people in rhythm games is I don't have rhythm, which is a lie. Everyone has rhythm. What people don't have is the ability to connect the rhythm in their brains with everything else. That's why some people say oh, I can't dance, I've got two left feet. Not quite. You just need to connect your brain with your body to do everything in unison. So I started out doing rhythm games for so long. I've played rhythm games on mobile devices. I've played rhythm games on every Nintendo console going almost. I've played rhythm games on my computer, in arcades, absolutely everywhere. I love them. They're so good and there's so much variety and you can definitely find a rhythm game that suits you really well. The reason I say Rhythm Heaven is a really good starting point, like I say, its control schemes are dead simple. The DS one was a little complicated because it used the touchscreen, but all it was either you tap and hold, or you flick your stylus. That's all you do, which are very natural motions for people because, we use pens, right? Tapping and flicking is just writing, essentially. The Wii version got even simpler. It was either you press A, you press B, you press them both at the same time. Couldn't be more simpler. And the 3DS version did a similar thing where it was either you press the left D-pad. The D-pad's always on the left. Either you press the D-pad or you press the A button. I think one or two games press the B button. But again, it's just pushing buttons, right? So control scheme, super simple. How it teaches you to play the game, even better. Most of them start out with a simple rhythm exercise to train you in feeling the rhythm of the game and doing inputs towards a rhythm. And they'll generally say oh, here's your, I think they call it flow, i.e. how well you are equipped to matching rhythm, and probably it won't be very high, but you'll see that score progress and you'll see your fact that your flow improves over time. And then it always throws you into a intro game that tends to be based off of the, I don't know what the song's called, but it's like the Western music scale song, the do re mi fa sol la ti do, that thing. It will be some sort of variation on that, and that'll set you off. Most people in the Western world, and even in some of the Eastern world, will be familiar with that song and getting things tied up. And then from there, it will just start throwing different songs at you, different rhythms, different mechanics and timings. And it's all simple to begin with. It's nothing complicated. What Rhythm Heaven does really nicely is at the end of 4 of the games that they give you, they do a remix where they mash up all of the mechanics from the first set of games and then flick between them in a single song. And that helps you just kind of tune yourself to switching between different stuff on the fly. That's really nice. Rhythm Heaven also then has this thing where it does 6 sets of 4 of just new games. Everything's new, nothing's repeated. And then the last 4 sets are 2 versions of every game that you've seen previously. Well, not every one, but a large proportion of them. These will be more complicated songs, more complicated rhythms and patterns, but hopefully by that point you've sort of built yourself up. And they're just really fun. They ooze charm. The music is fantastic. Like I said, they're easy to control. And it's a really great way to kind of get started with rhythm games. And there is that flexibility to push yourself hard. Rhythm Heaven games have a go for perfect mode where randomly on one of the mini games it will say go for perfect, where you don't miss a single input. And if you miss a single input, it just ends, you failed, you can try again. You can try it 3 times, and then it will move to a different game to play. And you don't have to do that. It's not necessary, but it's kind of a like reach for the stars kind of thing. So would definitely recommend that. If you want something that's not Rhythm Heaven, because maybe you don't have Nintendo consoles, I would suggest going for something like Melatonin. Melatonin is a very similar style game to Rhythm Heaven. It's slightly more complex with its inputs, but not too complicated. It's either a Switch game or a PC game, I think. So you can get it on Steam, for example. That's where I bought it. And it uses the keyboard exclusively, and it's either using the space button or the arrow keys. And it's even only the up, left, and right arrow keys. It follows the same format of having 4 unique song mini games with different mechanics, different timings, and then does a remix at the end of it. And I think there are 20 games, so 15 regular, 16 regular, I don't know. There's like 16 to 20 games, and following that progression. Melatonin's awesome because it's chill music. It's kind of like lo-fi, a little bit dreamy, a little bit sleepy music, so it's not sort of high energy and in your face, but it's still really fun, gets you toe tapping, really nice. And I would definitely recommend that because, again, Melatonin being a newer game has a lot of stuff built into it to kind of teach you how to play rhythm games. It's very good at that. It will lead you through everything. It has timing guides. It has a tutorial mode that you can look at and get familiarized with. There's even a leniency option for how strict it is with your timings. That's super helpful. So that's definitely a good one. A brand new one that I'm still waiting on is called Bits and Bops. Really good. Very much kind of a halfway house between Rhythm Heaven and Melatonin. It leans a bit more towards Rhythm Heaven. It's more upbeat, more quirky, more charismatic, I suppose. So that's really fun as well. It's only a demo, but there's 3 tracks you can try, all of which are super fun and fantastic and just kind of lets you be a bit free. So there's that. Once you've gotten comfortable with those things, I'd suggest branching out and just looking for a random rhythm game absolutely anywhere. I stumble into them and generally try the demos to see if I like how they play. So some notable things to kind of point you towards. One game I really like is called Avicii Invector, and as the name suggests, it's all Avicii music, so that's one thing to note is, do you like Avicii music? If you do, this is a good one. This is a rhythm game where you fly a ship and you press buttons, or you use the left stick to move the ship around to music, and it's all audio visualized to the song and everything. Really satisfying, really fun game. It's a little bit more complicated in terms of like manipulating the game with your hands because it's a lot of buttons to press, but that's one to look at. You've got things like VOEZ, that's VOEZ. It's a game from Rayark, Rayak, I think is their name. They make a lot of rhythm games. They make a lot of other games as well. This one is a touchscreen based game, although it can be played with controller on certain consoles, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's kind of in the style of Guitar Hero, where notes fall vertically and you just have to tap them at the correct time when they reach a certain bar on the screen. There's also slides, holds, swiping. That's all to do with finger dexterity, so be warned. Along that same vein, Rayark also do things like Deemo or Citus, I think it's called. They're also really good, but quite technical. They get very difficult very fast, so you have to be kind of wary of that. One of my all-time favorites that I'm currently into is Spin Rhythm. Absolutely love Spin Rhythm. Again, like I said, this is a keyboard and mouse thing, but it's a lot of mouse movement. That's the primary input, is like moving your mouse around, doing flicks, clicks and holds, all of that stuff. Spin rhythm is heavily electronic music as well. That's the caveat to that one. So I'd maybe Google the song list, and if you know there's songs in there that you like or you like the sound of, it's something to look at too. I think the biggest thing that you have to remember as well is whilst these games can get extremely complicated and extremely difficult, you're not obligated to do it. You're not obligated to go any higher than you want to. So for example, a lot of games have difficulty ratings. They'll have a number or a score that they'll tell you, and that'll give you a general indication as to how difficult the track is. And a lot of games, even for the same track, will have multiple different difficulty levels, especially something like Spin Rhythm. Every track has an easy, medium, hard, difficult, and crazy mode, essentially. And you don't have to play any of the more complicated ones if you don't want to, which is really nice. So find your groove. That's the first step. Secondly, find the ones that have the music that you enjoy the most, because if you don't enjoy this music, it's not fun to play. It's not satisfying. And then finally, just find the game styles you like. I like any game that has weird mechanics. That's why I like Rhythm Heaven games. That's why I liked VOEZ. That's why I liked Spin Rhythm. That's why I liked Avicii. They all have bizarre inputs or control methods that just make the game fun. Challenging, but fun. And they all do it in such a way that it allows you to find where you feel most comfortable. And that's the biggest thing, is just find what's comfortable and you enjoy, and then it'll just be satisfying. Eventually you'll be doing stuff that's crazy and cool and you didn't even realize you could do. The only thing I will say is sometimes it does get my heart going absolutely 10 to the dozen, so maybe not good if you have cardiovascular issues. But anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed listening. I hope you try some rhythm games, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.